Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another lecture video. So without further ado, let us begin. Today I would like to discuss about metaphysical poetry. So before talking about metaphysical poetry, I would like to talk about the political and religious background of the time. So I would like to divide my lecture into certain sections. First, I would like to talk about the political and religious background. Secondly, I would talk about the term metaphysical poetry. How did the term come to be? Next, I would like to talk about the characteristics of metaphysical poetry and the important poets. Alright, so let's first talk about the political and religious background. Metaphysical poetry was written during the 17th century. So during the 17th century, the King of England was James the First. James the First was the James the Sixth of Scotland. He was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, and he ascended the throne of England and throne of Scotland at the same time. Under his reign, the Church of England and the Church of Scotland was united. So he promoted Anglicanism. But the problem was that this was the time of religious disagreement. There were Presbyterians in Scotland, Catholics in Scotland and Ireland, and also Anglicans in England. And everyone was in disagreement with one another. James I did his best to unify all the religions. So he married his son Charles to Henrietta Maria, the sister of the King Louis XIII of France. But she was a Catholic, and after marriage, she denied to convert into Anglicanism. Thus was the religious and political background of the time. Let us now talk about the term metaphysical poetry. How did that term originate? First, I would like to mention that at the time these poets were writing, that time the term metaphysical poetry did not exist. The term came into being very late, like in the year 1693. John Dryden first used this term, and this term has been used, and this term was used not in a very positive sense. Dryden said that these poets they affected metaphysics. Later, Samuel Johnson, in his The Lives of the Poets, which was published in 1779, praised all these poets. He said that all these poets were very intelligent people, and showing that they were intelligent people were their sole motive. He called these poets wits and said that they brought different ideas into literature. Then, after many years, Herbert J.C. Grierson published one anthology, The Metaphysical Lyrics and Poems of the 17th Century, from Donne to Butler. And in this anthology, he attempted to compile all the poets, all the metaphysical poets of the 17th century. It was this particular anthology which brought these metaphysical poets into the attention of modern authors like T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot wrote one essay on metaphysical poets, and that essay is named The Metaphysical Poets. In this essay, T.S. Eliot praised these metaphysical poets. He put Donne at the top of the metaphysical poets and said that he unified the sensibilities. He mentioned that after Milton, there was the dissociation of sensibility. So it was quite a tall claim that Donne was unified, that Donne unified the sensibilities. Let us now talk about the characteristics of metaphysical poetry. Metaphysical poetry is different than the traditional poetry of the then time. We all know in Elizabethan period the famous poetry form was sonnet. In sonnet, a lover would praise the beloved. He would praise the beloved and make her sound as if she was a goddess. She were literally put onto some pedestal and worshipped. This kind of versification was not done by the metaphysical poets. Metaphysical poets were the first ones to recognize the claim on body by the lover. The physical love was mentioned by these poets. Another characteristics of metaphysical poets is that these poems open in abruptly. They used shock tactics. One of the poems of John Donne begins with, "For God's sake, hold thy tongue and let me love." Andrew Marvel's To His Coy Mistress begins with, "Had we but world enough time." This kind of shock openings was a very important characteristic of metaphysical poetry. Theme wise, metaphysical poetry varied. Metaphysical poetry was written on the themes of love, spirituality, as well as religion. We have the poem of John Donne, The Flea, where the lover tries to convince the beloved to have sexual union with him. We have the poem The Ecstasy, in which the lovers are presented as if they are sharing one soul. And mere physical union is nothing, but the union of the soul is the important thing. We have poems of Henry Vaughan and George Herbert, which are based on religion. So we can see that the themes varied. The themes of the metaphysical poems varied. The next important feature, that is one of the most important feature, is the use of conceits. These poets used similes in their writing, which are very unusual. They used far-fetched conceits. Like in the poem The Canonization, the two lovers are compared with two legs of the compass. These poets used colloquial languages, and all these poems were deep in philosophy and analysis, and than just mere romantic poems. These were very deep philosophical truths, we can say. So, who are the major metaphysical poets? The most important metaphysical poet is John Donne. Then we have Andrew Marvell, George Herbert, Richard Croshaw, Henry Vaughan, etc. So, in my future videos, I would like to talk about all these metaphysical poets one by one, and hopefully, I would like to discuss a few poems also. For all this, keep an eye to my channel. Thank you. Bye bye.